Next up, we've got another question of living longevity and how aging could be cured, if we wanted it to be, with Pedro Magalhaes. Close enough?
Good attempt.
Good enough.
know,
For somebody called Zarino Zapier, like I'm no good at pronouncing other people. Thank you very much. Thank you. Take it away. Oh, I need to put your slides on.
Yes, I can test my mic. I think it's working good. Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. So, is it working now? Okay, thank you. So I'm here to discuss about what are the prospects of how long we're going to live in 50 years. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, life expectancy has been increasing. 150 years ago, we used to live about 40, 45 years. Now, in some countries, over 80. And this is thanks to various medical breakthroughs. Now, on one hand, that's wonderful, but of course, on the other hand, it means we have an aging population. We have an increased incidence of age-related diseases like cancer, neurodegenerative diseases, heart diseases, which is a major social, economic, biomedical problem. So why not fix aging? Now, that's a picture of me when I was a child, because that was something I figured out when I was a kid. You know, we can cure infectious diseases, so why not can we cure aging as well? So what are the prospects of actually doing that? Well, first of all, from a biology perspective, we don't well understand the human aging process. We don't understand well yet why we age at the molecular cellular levels. There are some hints, in particular at the level of DNA. So for those who are not familiar, so the DNA encodes it, it's in our cells, nucleus of all our cells, and it encodes, determines our proteins. And the proteins are the machines of life that make all sorts of cell functions and determine our characteristics, you know, whether you're blonde hair or black hair, for instance. And we also know that damage to the DNA accumulates with aging. As we grow older, there's mutations that occur. And this causes problems at the cell level, cell loss, cell dysfunction, and it is thought as one possible cause of aging. And even more impressively than that, however, is the fact that we can manipulate DNA in animals, not in humans, to change the process of aging. So in tiny worms that live only a few weeks, we can change one gene and make them live for several months. They live 10 times longer. Even in mammals, in mice, we can change one single gene in the lab, and mice live 50% longer. So if we could do that to humans, it would mean humans living 150 years. And we also know in humans there's an impact of genetics and how long we live. So, for example, a single mutation in a single gene can accelerate the process of aging. So this is a disease called Werner syndrome, where a single mutation results in patients that develop all sorts of aging pathologies much earlier in life. Likewise, we know genetics plays a role in how long we live. So this is Jean Calment. She lived to be 122. She was very fond of port wine from my hometown, chocolate, and she smoked a lot. So there must have been something genetic to determine her extreme longevity. The other huge technological breakthrough that we see now is at the level of DNA sequencing. You know, it's very cheap now to sequence genomes. You can sequence your own genome for about $1,000 nowadays. So my lab and others have been using this to study some amazing organisms. One of these organisms is the naked mole rat, and we're interested in these animals not just because of their good looks, but also because they live extraordinarily long and they're very cancer resistant. Similarly, we're also studying another species, which is the bowhead whale. These are the second biggest animals on Earth after the blue whale, and they've been estimated to live over 200 years. So they must have natural mechanisms that protect against age-related diseases like cancer. So we sequence their DNA, and then we can try to infer what changes occur that affect, that have molecular effects. So for example, these are proteins from the bowhead whale, where we looked at subtle changes in the bowhead whale that affect the functions of the proteins that we think confer longevity and resistance to diseases. And at the extreme, there's even some animals that appear not to age at all, like some fishes, turtles, and salamanders. So aging is neither inevitable nor universal. And in theory, just like natural selection can do, so we can overcome aging. So from a practical perspective, what we're trying to do is learn from the DNA of animals like the bowhead whale and the naked mole rat, and then develop drugs, or maybe even in the future develop gene therapies so that we all can be disease resistant and live longer. And we actually know that it is possible also to manipulate aging in animals even by drugs. So there's longevity drugs now that retard aging in animals. Only about 15-20% though, it's less by genetic manipulations. So this is a field with a huge interest. So there's lots of companies now, for example, trying to discover these longevity drugs to make people live longer. The best example is probably Google, who invested about $1 billion in a company trying to solve aging. So there's huge efforts from companies and from laboratories to develop drugs that allow people to live longer by slowing the process of aging. So I don't think we're going to cure aging anytime soon, but I do think in 50 years we'll have retarded the process of aging and we'll be living longer, healthier lives, disease resistance, thanks to manipulating aging. Thank you very much.